Can you hear me? Good afternoon, and welcome to students, faculty, staff, alumni, friends, and all other ducks and duck-related guests. Thank you for coming today for the investiture of Michael Schill as the 18th President of the University of Oregon. We're delighted that you could join us on this special occasion. My name is Paul Peppis. I'm a professor of English and the director of the Oregon Humanities Center, and I have the honor of being the MC for today's celebration. But before beginning our ceremony proper, I hope you'll indulge me for a couple of minutes of personal reflection on Michael Schill and his leadership. On first meeting Mike, most people probably aren't reminded of the Greek demigod Heracles. The Romans called him Hercules. After all, Heracles was a mythic figure famed for feats of strength, especially his 12 heroic labors. But I'm an English professor, and I'm going to suggest that the comparison isn't as far-fetched as it might at first seem. Obviously, Mike Schill is no Greek muscle man. He prefers working at a desk and eating malted milk balls to performing feats of physical strength. And he certainly hasn't slain the Manean lion, captured the Cretan bull, or corralled the cattle of the giant Geryon, although Heracles' fifth labor, cleaning the Augean stables, does have curious resonances with some of Mike's efforts over the past 12 months. But when one considers the mind-boggling scope of the challenges facing public higher education in the 21st century and facing the U of O after 5 years of administrative turnover and jolting leadership shifts, it becomes easier to appreciate the Heraclean resonances of Mike Schill's leadership over the past year. To say that he didn't waste time or hesitate to address big problems would be an understatement. His decisions have not all met with universal acclaim, to be sure. But leadership is difficult in the best of circumstances, and the circumstances when Mike Schill arrived at the U of O were far from ideal. But as Michael Schill has labored to lead UO, I've been impressed by his commitment to address serious problems with significant solutions, his willingness to explain his priorities and decisions as clearly as he can, and his efforts to keep the lines of communication open with the UO's many constituencies and stakeholders. Yet what I've come to value most are those things least heroic, most human about him: his curiosity, his kindness, his enthusiasm, and his sense of humor. So my hat off to Mike Schill, a hardworking leader unafraid to tackle big challenges, and a regular guy with an open mind, a good heart, and a soft spot for dopey jokes and malted milk balls. So now the ceremony proper begins. It begins with the academic procession, a tradition that dates back to medieval times and reflects the collegiality that has been a tradition within universities since their origins in the Middle Ages. Our procession is led by University Marshal Jerry Richmond, Presidential Chair in Science and Professor of Chemistry. She carries the university mace and is followed by the deans of the university's schools and colleges. Next are members of President Schill's executive staff, followed by faculty members from all units of the university. Included in this assembly are professors emeriti, university administrators, and staff members. Next are members of the University of Oregon Board of Trustees, representatives from other universities and colleges, and finally, members of the Platform Party. Now, if you would please stand for the posting of the colors.
everyone comfortable? Good afternoon. I am Stephanie Alleman, a senior majoring in psychology and biology at the University of Oregon. Angela Davis, an activist and scholar who recently visited campus, stated that poor people, people of color especially, are much more likely to be found in prison than in institutions of higher education. Higher education is a space that for a long period of time was not accessible to people like myself. As a goal, it was out of reach and written off as unattainable. This space was only open to those with wealth and privilege, and unaccommodating to those who lacked them. It was certainly not a space for individuals who were second-generation Americans, whose parents sacrificed and left their beloved families to reach a land of greater opportunity. And it was an elusive feat for individuals who lacked the financial means, but who dreamed that one day they too would be able to cross that stage on a bright June morning. As my last year approaches and that bright June morning becomes increasingly tangible, I can only sum up my experience at the University of Oregon with one word: opportunity. It is opportunity that has allowed me, a daughter of 2 Mexican immigrants, to attend a prestigious 4-year research university. I would like to say that if one works hard, is kind, and does good deeds, that their dreams are achievable. And therefore, it was my hard work, kindness, and love for the sciences that has led me to where I am today. But that is simply not true. Because it is no longer enough to be intelligent or tenacious. Within the state alone and across the nation, there are numerous eager but disadvantaged students who are just as qualified for and deserving of higher education as I. Yet they are not here. And more often than not, it is opportunity, not ability or intelligence, that holds them back. It is due to the cultivation of opportunity through the continued efforts of past presidents and President Schill that I'm able to speak before you all today. I am extremely fortunate to be a proud recipient of Pathway Oregon, the Gates Millennium Scholarship, and the Diversity Excellence Scholarship. Because of these scholarships, I'm not restricted by my family's lack of financial ability to fund my education. Rather, my experience in education are only limited by my desire, curiosity, and willingness to learn. The experiences that I've had here at the University of Oregon have been invaluable. I've not only found my lifelong friends among those I met in the dorms, but I've also found my path in life. In my time as a teaching assistant for general chemistry, I was able to see firsthand the power of curiosity and encouragement in education. I found that education is a tool that can be used not only to advance oneself, but also to help others by finding compassionate and innovative ways to foster understanding. As a research assistant to Dr. Dasha Demirkin, I've come to learn about and love the rigorous pursuit and investigation of scientific fact. I hope to use this love and set of skills I have learned to further understand how health education can serve as a means of disease prevention for marginalized populations. The advising of mentors in the biology department prompted me to begin volunteering as a Spanish interpreter at a free clinic, where I saw firsthand the great disparity in our healthcare system. But it was also where I gained hope for the disenfranchised, as they were able to receive medical care at no cost to them. It was the culminating experiences and more that guided and pushed me to pursue a master's in public health. Yet none of these experiences would have been possible for an individual like myself without the opportunity that I have received from the University of Oregon. It is because of this opportunity that I can look to others and say that yes, you too belong here. This daunting task of pursuing higher education is not an unattainable dream anymore. It is realizable and worthy, a goal that is no longer inaccessible to bright and eager students like ourselves. Because if we work hard, are kind, and do good deeds, we are only limited by our desire, curiosity, and willingness to learn. Thank you to the faculty, the staff, and to President Schill for your ceaseless efforts in making higher education at the University of Oregon an achievable dream. Thank you.
UCLA Chancellor Jean Block was supposed to speak at this moment in the program. Unfortunately, as you may have heard, there was a shooting on the UCLA campus that was just this morning, and he, of course, wanted to quickly return to his campus. Our hearts go out to the UCLA campus community and all those that were impacted. I ask we take a moment now to offer a moment of silence for the UCLA community. Thank you. I want to highlight just a few remarks that Gene would have given. He would have gone into more depth, but he is an alum and he speaks very highly of our new president. Gene Block says, Mike Schill led our School of Law to new heights and did so with humor, decisiveness, and compassion. He was, by every measure, an outstanding leader. So today is indeed very special for me because I not only have the privilege of celebrating President Schill's investiture from the perspective of an Oregon alum, but also from that of a friend. And I can assure you that there is no one better to lead this university into the future. We again thank Chancellor Block, offer our goodwill to UCLA, and we hope that we can have him back to our campus, his alma mater, very soon.
Hello. Hi, we are Davisi from the University of Oregon, and we are the all-female a cappella group here. Thank you so much for having us. We have 2 songs for you.
Up into the night sky, I see 1,000 eyes staring by. And all around these golden beacons, seeing nothing but black. I see the waves, something beyond them. I don't see what I can feel. This vision is my only validation, and most of my life isn't real. 'Cause you're not really here. Stars don't even matter. I'm filled to the top with fear that it's all just a bunch of matter. You're not really here. But I don't wanna be either. I wanna be next to you. Black and gold, black and gold, black and gold. You're not really here. The stars don't even matter. Now I'm filled to the top with fear that it's all just a bunch of matter. 'cause you're not really here. And I don't wanna be either. I wanna be next to you. Black and gold, 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 black and gold.
Well, it's a wonder that you need at all. When things are big that should be small. Who can tell what magic spells will be doing for us? And I'm giving all my love to this world, only to be told that I can't see, I can't breathe, and no more will we be. And nothing's gonna change the way we live, 'cause we can always take but never give. And now that things are changing for the worse, see, whoa, it's a crazy world we're living in. And I just can't see that half of us immersed in sin is all we have to give these futures made of virtual insanity. Now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting a la new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground. And I'm thinking what a mess we're in. I don't know where to begin. If I could slip the sickly ties that earthly man has made. And now every mother can choose the color of a child. That's not nature's way. Well, that's what they said yesterday. There's nothing left to do but pray. I think it's time I found a new religion. Whoa, it's so insane to synthesize another strain. Yeah, there's something in these futures that we have to be told. Futures made of virtual insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting a la new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground. Now there is no sound, for we all live underground. And now it's virtual insanity. Forget your virtual reality. Oh, there's nothing so bad. Futures made of virtual insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting a la new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground. Oh, virtual insanity is what we're living in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Incredible talent at this institution. It's my privilege and pleasure now to introduce the chair of the University of Oregon Board of Trustees, Charles M. Lillis, who will formally invest President Schill. The first in his family to attend college, Chuck Lillis earned his bachelor's and master's degrees in business administration from the University of Washington and his doctorate in 1972 from the U of O's Lundquist College of Business. Chair Lillis began his career as a business professor at Washington State University, shifted to General Electric as Director of Corporate Marketing and Research, then served as Dean of Business at the University of Colorado at Boulder. He went on to a successful career in the telecommunications industry, becoming CEO of a Fortune 100 company. He was also co-founder and principal of Lone Tree Capital and co-founder and managing partner of Castle Pines Capital. Chuck Lillis has been a member of the foundation boards of the University of Washington and the University of Colorado at Boulder, has served on the boards of private and public companies, and also serves as a trustee of the Lillis Foundation, which he and his wife Gwen formed, and he is a U.S. Army veteran. Chuck and Gwen Lillis have been exceptionally generous to the University of Oregon with both their time and philanthropy, supporting scholarships, programs throughout the business school, including, of course, the Lillis Business Complex, and many other areas of the campus. Chair Lillis has led the University of Oregon Board of Trustees since its inception. Please join me in welcoming Charles M. Lillis.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Paul, and good afternoon. And as soon as I locate my presentation here, we'll be in business. Okay. It is a privilege and an honor to join the University of Oregon community and the entire state as we officially invest Michael H. Schill as the 18th president of the University of Oregon. Investiture, as many of you perhaps know, is a formal ceremony conferring authority to lead the university in the pursuit of knowledge. These ceremonies date from the Middle Ages and involve symbols of the authority granted. Today, the University of Oregon continues this richest of academic traditions. It was nearly 2 years ago when the Board of Trustees tasked a search committee with finding the next president for our university. Under the leadership of Trustee Connie Ballmer, acting as chair of that committee, and with the very important participation of committee members representing faculty, staff, alumni, students, administrators, friends, fellow trustees, the committee undertook its charge and we believe produced a superb outcome. In Michael Schill, we found a leader who is a scholar with impeccable academic pedigree, a leader who values the highest principles of teaching and research, but perhaps even more importantly, a man of passion, energy, humility, and occasionally much needed humor. A man of thoughtful consideration, willing to make hard decisions during often challenging times. In his first year as president, he has steadfastly kept us focused on academic excellence. And within the academic excellence, within the very important context of access, affordability, and diversity. We have found a leader in the truest sense. And we, the constituents of the University of Oregon, are the longtime beneficiaries. Therefore, Mike, can you come up? Therefore, acting on behalf of the Board of Trustees, under the authority granted by the state of Oregon, and with, so scoot in here, Mike, and with a special thank you to Ruth and Simon, Mom and Dad, who are watching at the University of Chicago. Good. You didn't know that, did you?
I didn't.
It is with great pleasure that I formally invest you, Michael H. Schill, with the responsibilities, the authority, and the obligations leading the University of Oregon as it serves the state, the nation, and the world. On behalf of the board, Governor Kate Brown, the Oregon Legislature, and the people of Oregon, I present you with the official symbols of leadership of our great university, the President's Medallion and the University Mace. And I understand the medallion is right here. I'm going to do this. We clearly rehearsed this all night. And the mace, and Michael. So these are, be careful where we wave it. These are the official symbols of the authority that has been granted to Mike. Thank you for accepting our charge, and congratulations, Michael.
I was told not to wave that around very much. Well, I am incredibly honored and humbled to stand here before members of my family, my mentors, friends, advisors, colleagues, and students to formally accept responsibility for leading this great institution, the University of Oregon. I would not be here without the confidence and clear vision of the Board of Trustees and Chairman Lillis. I thank all of you, I welcome you, and I'm honored to lead the University of Oregon at this pivotal time in our institution's history. I am sure the irony of this setting, center court in a basketball arena, it's not lost on the many people who over the past year have tried to educate me on all things sports. Well, I think I've finally figured out the pick and roll, although the overtime rules in football still elude me. I still don't understand why we lost to Washington State this year. Now, I welcome with pleasure our many faculty members, staff, and students, our community members, lawmakers, community leaders, legislators who are with us today, including here on the platform with me, Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum and Congressman Peter DeFazio, both University of Oregon graduates with advanced degrees. I am humbled by my friends and colleagues who have traveled to be here from such far-flung locations as Chicago, New York, Salt Lake City, Houston, Minneapolis, and Seattle, just to name a few. Eugene, Oregon is not right in the middle of every direct flight from everywhere in the United States, and I really appreciate all of you being here. And as Scott mentioned, my dear friend, former boss, and Oregon alumnus, Gene Block, had to leave this morning to return to UCLA. My heart goes out to my former colleagues, many of whom are with me, and my former colleagues who are still at UCLA. Thank you to all of the many Bruins who came here today, including Ralph and Shirley Shapiro, who are like second parents to me. Thank you for coming. And as for family, I am thrilled to have my sister Margot and my cousins Martha and Mia here today. Without Margot's love and support, I wouldn't be here in front of you today. Thank you. And I also want to say hello to my parents. I'll look right up the middle because that's where they're going to see me. My parents who could not travel here, they're 94 years old, but they're watching the streaming video at the University of Chicago Law School along with a number of my friends there. Mom and Dad, it was you who taught me the benefits and the value of getting a great education. That gift is lasting me my entire life, and I love you dearly. Now, as I look out among the sea of faces, I'm keenly aware that this is going to feel a little bit like deja vu for some of you, right? The university community has been here before. It has welcomed a new president more than once over the past 6 years. Indeed, it's welcomed 3 presidents. Indeed, one of the reasons I wanted to wait almost a year, some people have asked me, why did you wait a year? One of the reasons I wanted to wait a year before I was invested in office was I wanted you all to have confidence that the third time would be the charm. Now, thank you. In the last year, I've grown to love Oregon. I've been inspired by the university's past. I've grappled with the current challenges and come to the clear conclusion that the future is very bright for the University of Oregon. I'm energized and I'm excited by the road ahead, and I don't plan on going anywhere. Now this year, the University of Oregon marks its 140th year as an institution of higher learning. We rose from humble beginnings, financed by the people of Eugene with proceeds from strawberry festivals and grain sales. We started on 18 acres of muddy land, a former wheat field where cattle continued to graze as our first students attended class. From the very beginning, we overcame adversity. We relied on donors to pay for our land debts and to construct our first buildings. We resisted attempts by Oregon State University to combine in the early 20th century. 140 years, hundreds and thousands of graduates, tens of thousands of articles, books, and discoveries later, the University of Oregon has grown from a scrappy, fledgling institution into a renowned flagship research university that it is today. We are, however, once again at a crossroads, a pivotal point where we will choose now to chart our legacy for the next 140 years and beyond. After many tumultuous years, we now possess all of the ingredients for success and have before us a world of opportunities. Our excellent and committed faculty, many of whom are here today, are hungry for change, hungry for us to get better. So is our staff, so is our incredible administrative group. Our amazing students from every part of the world, they're eager to learn and to grow. And our new independent board of trustees and our governance system is the envy of every public university in the country. This year we will welcome 3 world-class deans and a new vice president of research to campus. They will be coming this summer. They will join an extraordinary permanent leadership team. We also have a remarkably accomplished alumni community. They bleed green and yellow, and they virtually quack with enthusiasm when they hear the words University of Oregon. We will build upon these strengths as we march towards excellence, but we must also be clear-eyed about what the hurdles are in front of us. The University of Oregon, like all public research universities and some private institutions, faces substantial challenges to our ability to meet our missions of education, research, and teaching, and to be of service to our state, our nation, and our world. Today, perhaps more than any time in recent years, higher education is in the crosshairs as our nation sorts out its priorities. A 20-plus year decline in public support for public higher education has run parallel to a climb in the demand for college-educated workers. The public financial pie has been sliced and diced into crumbs, creating an environment where better-resourced universities get richer and the most financially constrained become poorer. The widening gulf between the wealth of the private and public universities mimics the increasing economic polarization of our society outside the university walls. The pressures created by the Great Recession, by state disinvestment in higher education, by general cynicism born out of divisive politics. They have given rise to a set of myths that threaten to undermine the goals and aspirations held by all of you in this audience today. These myths about higher education, 6 that I plan to talk about today, aren't just false, they are downright dangerous because of their power to influence public opinion. These myths, they prevent our students from opening the doors to a lifetime of opportunity. These myths, they distract policymakers, they divert resources. These myths, they curve creative exploration and choke discovery. These myths, they discourage our faculty, they frustrate our alumni. If we buy into these myths, we shortchange our students, our state, and our nation. And if left unchecked, one day we are going to wake up and these myths will have become a reality. This is not acceptable. We must challenge these misconceptions head on for the sake of our institution and for the future of higher education. The University of Oregon cannot truly be great unless it unshackles itself from these burdens. Now, the first myth that I want to debunk is the notion that a college education is not a good investment. Each graduation season, we hear the pundits and the skeptics question the value of earning a bachelor's degree. Yet research consistently shows that graduating from a 4-year university remains the single best path in the pursuit of lifetime of both success, economic success, and also happiness. College graduates on average earn far more than their non-college growing peers, 66% more, or $1 million over the course of their lifetimes. Research also consistently demonstrates that college graduates are in general happier, healthier, have greater job satisfaction, and are more engaged with their communities than those who do not graduate college. These individual benefits also extend to our society as a whole. They create lower unemployment, greater voluntarism and civic engagement, as well as jobs and innovation from research and discovery, and also knowledge creation. Now, the next myth that must be challenged is that higher education is unaffordable. Now, while the benefits of a 4-year degree have never been more apparent, the refrain that a college education is no longer affordable is growing louder and louder and louder. It is true, tuition rates, particularly in public universities, have gone up since the 1980s faster than inflation. This is fueled in part by increased demand, by our reliance on labor, by competition for quote-unquote the best students, and also by rapidly growing state and federal regulatory mandates. Of course, for public universities like the University of Oregon, higher tuition costs are also directly attributable to the withdrawal of state funding. Since the year 2000, state support for public higher education nationwide has fallen by 30%. In the state of Oregon, it has fallen by 51%. But is higher education truly unaffordable? Of course, this is a question that's laden with enormous subjectivity. The average in-state sticker price for a public university is about $9,000, nearly a quarter of the cost of a private university. After federal Pell Grants, scholarships, and other aid, the actual cost of tuition and books for public universities drops to about $4,000. Now, at the University of Oregon, high-achieving Pell-eligible Oregonians, like Stephanie here, who just spoke a moment ago, they pay no tuition or fees under the Pathway Oregon program. Our Pathway Oregon students constitute 20% of our in-state students, and I'm very proud of that. The existence of financial aid, even generous financial aid, however, does not eliminate the fact that for some of our students, the cost of attending college is more than they currently have available. Yet increasingly, students are allergic to student loans, perhaps learning too well the lessons that their parents learned during the real estate bust of 2008. And I say learn too well because while excessive debt is a problem, prudent borrowing makes enormous sense. One of the reasons why loans exist is to bridge two time periods, one when people are investing in the future and the other one when they're reaping the rewards of those investments. About 50% of our students at the University of Oregon graduate with debt. Of those taking out debt, the average amount is less than $25,000, about the cost of a new Honda Accord, which has one of the best resale values in the nation. But unlike even a Honda Accord, the value of a college degree does not decrease. For most Americans, a college education is the best value, the best investment they will ever make in their lifetime. And while scholarships and loans help increase access, we still need to do more. We need to do more. Most importantly, particularly here at the University of Oregon, but other universities throughout the nation, we must reduce the time it takes for our students to graduate from college. Only half of our students graduate in 4 years. Now, this is the best graduation rate in the state of Oregon, and it's above the national average, but it simply isn't good enough. Our in-state students who take an additional 2 years to graduate, on average, this costs them $15,000 more in terms of tuition, fees, and books. So extending college increases costs, limits income generation, and research shows also decreases a student's probability of ever graduating from college. That is why we've set a goal here of increasing our graduation rates by 10 percentage points by 2020. Through a series of investments, including increased funding for scholarships, both for incoming students and for students who are just a little bit short of graduating, by improved advising and coordination, by careful student tracking, we are removing barriers to graduation. We here call that the Oregon Commitment, and that's my commitment to our students and our state. Now, the third myth that I'd like to discuss is this idea that increasing reliance on private philanthropy means that public universities are abandoning their public mission. As the states have slashed funding for public higher education, the role of private philanthropy has grown. Public universities have gradually come to the realization that what used to be the icing on the cake is now actually the cake itself. For example, in 1995, philanthropy equaled, it's 1995, about 20 years ago, philanthropy equaled just a dime for every state dollar that the University of Oregon received. Today, our spending from direct gifts and the endowment is greater than our state funding. Quite a turnaround for a short period of time. Now, many have bemoaned the increasing reliance on private support as the loss of our public mission, or as endangering our public mission. But what does that mean? I am confident that every dean or president of a public university has pondered the following questions. And I know my friends at UCLA will know I did this when I went there. What makes a public university public? Now, after serving as a dean of public and private law schools for a total of 11 years, I've never stopped wondering about that question. What makes a public law school public? Well, let's start at the beginning. Maybe transparency and collaboration. Those are clearly values that are more ubiquitous in a public university. I often joke to people that if I sneeze, it will find its way into a newspaper or onto the internet. And when I moved here, I was shocked. I was just walking down the street or I was in Trader Joe's, and people came up to me. They weren't alumni, they weren't working at the university, they weren't students or faculty, but they were members of our community, and they wanted to talk to me about the university. They wanted to tell me either I was doing things well or I wasn't doing, luckily it was more the former than not doing things well, but they have this level of informed engagement caused in part by public scrutiny, but also by their love of the university because we are transparent. And that can be very, very rewarding. It also gives rise to participation from a much broader stakeholder group than normally occurs in a private university. So what's a second unique aspect of being a public university? And that's our identification with the state. Now, although the University of Oregon is proud to play on a national stage as the university's flagship university, we also every decision that we make takes into account our impact on the state of Oregon. Whether we are discussing student enrollment, whether we're discussing hiring, graduation rates, or our research, we are always focused here on what will generate the maximum public good. This doesn't typically occur to the same extent in private universities. One might say the reason is that the state is paying our bills. But I've just told you, the state is not paying our bills. The contribution of the state to our total budget today is 7%. 7%. So the university is also focused on its role as a generator of economic development. Professor Tim Dewey of the University of Oregon regularly computes our impact on the state from employment, business creation, and our own spending. For 2015, Tim estimates that our economic footprint in the state is $2.3 billion. And as I will talk about in a moment, I am very hopeful as we increase and ramp up our research efforts, that number will go up and up and up. Now, a third and perhaps the most important way that public universities embody a public mission distinctively is through our role in providing access to students like Stephanie of diverse and modest backgrounds. For all the reasons I discussed earlier, there can be no more important objective for our nation than making sure that we extend the opportunities of higher education to all Americans, poor and rich, black, white, Native, Latino, and Asian. Public universities educate 3 times more students than their private peers. We also educate a much larger portion of low-income, first-generation students of color. In recent years, some private universities have expanded their financial aid programs. These programs are wonderful. Indeed, I benefited from them when I went to college. My sister and I are first-generation college students. While our parents' resources were limited, they never left any doubt in our minds that we were going to go to college. And I was fortunate enough that Princeton University had the sort of scholarship programs that many universities now have, and they provided a tuition and fees set of options that made it actually cheaper than the State University of New York. But private school scholarships and financial aid will only reach the tip of the iceberg because their admission standards are simply out of the reach of most students of limited means. But our commitment to access, affordability, and diversity will always remain distinctive. It's what makes us public, despite what our balance sheets look like. Our public mission is as inseparable as Oregon's pioneer mother and as Oregon's pioneer father. Now, the fourth myth that must be addressed is that college students should only focus on studying marketable skills. Since the Great Recession, The drumbeat has grown on college campuses that students should focus on obtaining job skills like those taught in the engineering and business parts of the university. This message has been adopted by some politicians and even finds its way into the funding formula of the state of Oregon. Students are not immune to this media message, and they have increasingly fled the humanities and social sciences. The argument that the social sciences and humanities are irrelevant and no longer valuable is not just a myth, it's a blasphemy. Even on its own terms, it's wrong. Entrepreneurs like our own Phil Knight stress that courses that focus on creativity, expression, and analytical thinking are the key to innovation. And of course, we all remember Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs famously said, "Technology alone is not enough. It is technology married with the liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields the results that makes our heart sing." Material on tests quickly grows stale, but what our humanists and social scientists teach, how to learn, how to question, those will never go out of date. Those skills will never go out of date. And as the pace of change continues to accelerate in the United States, it becomes more and more important for our graduates to become lifelong learners. The University of Oregon is and will remain deeply committed to the liberal arts. That becomes apparent. Just come into my office and look at my bookshelves, now filled with manuscripts authored by our faculty. We will keep our commitment to the humanities, even as we invest in a more prominent footprint in the sciences. Now, the fifth myth that needs to be refuted is the idea that research should be less important than teaching in a public university. Many Americans, unfortunately, systematically undervalue or simply misunderstand the benefits of research. One can see evidence of this in declining or stagnant federal research budgets, and also in the state funding models of many of our public universities, like the state of Oregon. One hears not infrequently the concern that a commitment to research isn't compatible with great teaching, that professors who are deeply engaged in research, they'll care less about undergraduate education. My own view, based upon 29 years in higher education, is that with rare exceptions, a faculty member who is invested in research can bring something incredibly special to the classroom, a curiosity and knowledge of cutting-edge developments in a field, as well as insights and passion of someone deeply enmeshed in the search for answers. They offer their students unparalleled opportunities to work with them on projects that will stimulate their desire to learn, that will give them the excitement of what it's like to be a scholar and keep them committed to education throughout their lives. Now, the University of Oregon has not kept up with its peers when it comes to research. As the federal government funding remained constant or declined somewhat, our state funding was slashed. And we had no choice as a university but to increase enrollments and take on more and more non-research faculty to teach those students. Now, we are deeply grateful as a university and will always be grateful to our non-research faculty who provide wonderful teaching and real enlightenment to our students. But it is now time for us to right the balance. If we are to achieve our ambition of becoming a great university that Oregon requires, we must change that balance. Now, at another time, I hope to talk with you more about the intrinsic importance of research, how the creation of knowledge, in my belief, is the most important thing that we as a society and a civilization can accomplish. But I'm going to focus on something a bit more modest today, the importance of research to our state's economy. The majority of America's basic research, the kind that led a while ago to ATMs, to smartphones, to whooping cough vaccines, to lung cancer treatments, where did that occur? That occurred in universities. Studies show that proximity to a research university is related to a greater level of economic development and innovation than those locations that are not. Think of Silicon Valley and Stanford. Think of the Innovation Crescent and Georgia Tech. Think of the Research Triangle and UNC and Duke. Now, at the University of Oregon, our top priority is to build our impact by growing our research profile. Not only will we continue to support our faculty working in the humanities, social sciences, basic sciences, and professional schools, but we will also expand our capacity in the applied sciences. The University of Oregon has neither a medical school nor an engineering school, which are typically the drivers of university scientific research. Yet our faculty today wish to transform their insights and discoveries into new treatments, new technologies that help solve our society's most pressing problems. So, unburdened by an existing infrastructure designed for a different era, we will create our own, one uniquely suited to the interests of our faculty and the needs of our state and our nation. Now, I want to conclude, after taking a sip of water, I want to conclude with something that I hope is a myth. Just over a year ago, when I was considering whether I wanted to come here to lead the University of Oregon, I was warned that it was unclear whether the people of the state of Oregon wanted a nationally prominent flagship university. I was told Oregonians want a university better than Idaho, but not much better. Sorry to anybody from Idaho. Or another way this came to me was, watch out about sticking your head up too high. In Oregon, there are always going to be people that will want to knock it down. Now, certainly a lack of commitment to quality is reflected in the public finance decisions of our state, a lack of quality education. Oregon ranks 47th out of 50th among states in dollars spent per student in higher education. Now, it's obvious, I ignored these warnings, and I'm here. I arrived here in July, and I'm pleased to report that at least among our faculty and our staff, our alumni and our friends, our community leaders, and many legislators, the vast majority, they want and they expect the University of Oregon to compete at the highest level. They want us to attract and retain the very best faculty and the very best students. They want us to develop world-class programs, rich student experiences, high-impact research opportunities. The myth that we don't want excellence should raise the ire of all of those who love this beautiful university and who care about this exceptional state. Oregon deserves a world-class university like the University of Oregon. Our families, businesses, and communities, they need a university that produces artists and poets, inventors and entrepreneurs, philosophers and teachers, scientists and journalists. We require critical thinkers and leaders who are committed to making our state and the world a better place. Pursuing excellence is how the University of Oregon will crush these myths that hamper student access, that stunt teaching and creativity, that limit our capacity for discovery and economic impact. If chemistry professor Jerry Richmond, you're over here. So chemistry professor Jerry Richmond hadn't wondered why the smoke she collected in jars turned to ash, or had given up when she was rejected for a research position because she was a woman, she might not have received the Medal of Science from President Obama last month. If Bill Bowerman had been satisfied with the running shoes of the late 1950s, the world might not have had Nike and an obsession throughout the country with jogging. The University of Oregon would not have a world-class track program, and our city, Eugene, would not be known throughout the world as Tracktown, USA. And if one of our wonderful University of Oregon juniors, Kyla Marchuski, had given up on her biology research or not believed she could earn a Fulbright, she might not be on her way to conducting cancer research at the University of Auckland, nor aimed to study at the OHSU Knight Cancer Institute. This insatiable curiosity and need for more and better, for excellence, is what drives us. It propels us, and it will define our next 140 years and beyond. Now, my favorite quote about Oregon, my favorite Oregon quote from someone who went here, comes from an alumnus who personifies the pursuit of excellence, and elegance too. Steve Prefontaine, right? He famously said, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift." The University of Oregon needs all of us to give nothing less than our best. This is how we will fulfill the ambitions of those who came before us. Dave Frohnmeyer spoke at his own investiture 2 decades ago about the worth of the great modern research university in teaching, research, and service. He said, "We don't need a different university, but we must constantly dedicate ourselves to the development of a better one, because each of us has a place to play in building our university and enhancing our national impact. We must invest in faculty and research. We must fulfill the public mission of accessibility, diversity, and economic mobility. We must fuel the economy of the state. We must contribute to the world through our discoveries and the students that we enlighten. We must reject the myths of public higher education's demise that make our bright future a reality. Oregon deserves a great university. I am committed to working with each of you to make the University of Oregon a great university, a better university, the very best university that it can be. Thank you. I'm proud to be your president.
Check. Yep. Hey, guys. What's up, everybody? We're on the rocks. Right here from the University of Oregon. We got one song for you.
1, 2, 3. Like the fool I went and stayed too long. baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Like that time I went and said goodbye. Yeah, baby, shame to cry. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. I'm yours.
Oh, yeah.
Got my future in your hands, baby. I'm yours. I'm gonna be yours. And here I am, baby. I'm yours. Signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours, baby. I'm yours. And I'm gonna be yours. And here I am, baby. I'm yours. Signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours, baby. I'm yours. And I'm gonna be yours. And here I am, baby. I'm yours. Signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours, baby. I'm yours. I'm gonna be yours. And those are the foolish things that I really didn't mean. Oh, seen a lot of things in this old world, yeah, baby. Nothing, girl, baby. Here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, baby. Here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. Go, Jux, baby. Here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours.
Well, now that President Schill has been signed, sealed, and delivered, and he's ours, I think it's time for us to go celebrate. So this brings this wonderful event to a close. Thank you all for coming and being part of this important and historic event. You're now invited to celebrate over at the Cheryl and Alan Ford Alumni Center for a reception, which follows, and we can toast our new president. Sorry, you in Chicago, you'll have to do it virtually. But thank you for joining us also. And we'd also like to give a big thanks to the Oregon Brass Ensemble. Yay! You were great. And now it's my job to get us out of here. So let's go. Thank you.